He arrived about 10 o'clock this morning, arrived via the players' tunnel, the players' entrance around at the Stretford end, the other side of Manchester United's Old Trafford ground here, and spent around about an hour or so inside with his delegation. They were given a tour of the stadium, no doubt a tour of the museum, tour of the trophy room as well, resplendent with the latest edition, the EFL Cup, which was put in there earlier on this month. And then after he'd been here for an hour or so and a quick tour of the club shop, it was off to Carrington, off to the club's state-of-the-art training facility. He looked in a very relaxed mood as he came out. There were a lot of press photographers, TV cameras and so on to watch him as he made his way from the Old Trafford club shop into the car park, into his car and away to Carrington. And it's at Carrington where we understand there'll be a number of presentations by the Manchester United representatives. They need to show the club in as strong a light as possible. They want the people who are interested in buying the club to up their bids. We know that Sheikh Jassim was here yesterday. His delegation spent about 10 hours here yesterday, and we understand that their bid for 100% of the club is around £4.5 billion. We think that the Ineos bid, as far as we know, all of these bids are wrapped in non-disclosure agreements, is also worth around £4.5 billion. But it's thought that that could just be for the Glazers' stake, the 69% that the Glazers own, not for the club as a whole. Could also mean some borrowing as well by Ineos in order to get this deal over the line, although it's understood that any borrowing that does take place to try and reach the asking price for the club will be passed on to Ineos rather than passed on to the club. That was what the Glazers did. That's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons why the fans are so angry with the Glazers, was because they borrowed money to buy the club and then passed that debt onto the club itself rather than carrying it as their own personal debt. So the Manchester United representatives will be trying to show exactly what the club is worth, to show that it is worth the $6 billion that the Glazers say it is. If you look at it on paper, purely as a financial exercise, purely as a company, not taking its history and the fact that it's a major football club into account, it's probably not worth half of the $4.5 billion, so say the financial experts, that's being offered. But it is a trophy asset, as it's known. Sir Jim is a massive Manchester United fan. He was born and brought up only about 5 miles away or so from the ground, and this would be a dream come true for him. It's a real passion project for him. He says he wants to put the Manchester back into Manchester United, and the fans would certainly be pleased to hear that. In terms of the financial situation, the fans probably more interested in the bid from Qatar, because that cancels the debt and buys the club in its entirety. We'll move into stage 3 of the process. Once all of these meetings have happened, fresh bids will be put in, and then the Glazers will decide whether or not and who they want to sell it to.